Hello everyone, Valk here, and welcome to this video tutorial on artillery in combat mission. So to get started, right next to this conveniently placed TRP, target reference point, are some sandbags. We'll just pretend that there's an enemy position behind it. So we'll start up a fire mission using one of our artillery pieces. And we'll test different kinds of artillery pieces to see which is best suited to which kind of job. So let's speed this up a little bit and see where the rounds start to fall. So as we can see, there are a few rounds that actually fall on the target, but for the most part a lot of the rounds are missing and they're going quite far away. So now we'll try an on-map light mortar and see how that does.
Hello, fire mission, over!
And already we can see that rounds are falling directly on the target. So let's try the same kind of mortar, only this time we'll try an off-map version.
Hello, fire mission, over!
As we can see already, the rounds are going all over the place. Looking at it, you'd think this was an area fire mission. Now we'll fire at the target using a medium mortar that's on map. And once again we can see that the rounds are falling on the target pretty good. So let's have a look at the target after the mission is complete. So it's safe to say that enemy position's probably taken care of by now. Let's try the same mortar type, only this time off map. And once again we seem to have the same story in regards to accuracy. So now we're going to move the light mortar further away from the target, just to see what happens. So now the mortar is quite a distance away. So far away that we're right at the edge of the mortar team's range. So let's see if the mortar's accuracy has changed any.
Hello, fire mission, over!
So it seems that the further away the mortar team actually is, the worse the accuracy is. Just something to note with the range of mortars, especially light mortars, and if you're playing on a big map. As we can see here, the off-map mortar is out of range. On smaller maps it should be well within range. So now we'll talk about the mission stages. They're receiving, preparing, spotting and firing. The spotting stage isn't used if you're using a TRP. The most important part really is that the observer has to be able to see where the rounds fall during the spotting stage.
Hello, fire mission, over!
So now we'll look at setting up an artillery mission. The target is pretty self-explanatory. Point is best used for one particular target that you need to take out. Area is a circular area, and linear is just to fire along a line. Guns is how many particular guns or mortar tubes you want to fire at the same time. Mission is basically the rate of fire. Duration is how many rounds to fire. We'll have a look at that in the very next segment. And delay is basically how long you want to pause the mission for before it starts up properly. But you will start spotting pretty much straight away after the preparation stage. It'll just pause after that. Now at the top is what the manual says what each duration of a mission is. Well, at the bottom is how many rounds are actually fired during some missions that I did. So while the manual said 12 to 18, it seemed to be around between 20 and 33. You might also notice that the 2-gun mission used a lot more ammunition than the 1-gun mission. So you should take this into account when you choose your mission duration, because 2 guns will use twice as much ammunition as 1 gun, and so on. So now we'll try a fire mission where we move the spotter away after calling it in, so we won't actually be able to see the spotting rounds.
Hello, fire mission, over.
Now the spotter should be adjusting these rounds, but he can't because he doesn't have line of sight to where the spotting rounds actually land. Not being able to see where the rounds are falling, this is just going to waste a lot of ammunition.
Fire for effect, out.
So after a lot of rounds, the fire mission's just called in and it's completely off target. So with that same mission, we'll get our forward observer to try and adjust the mission to another target.
Just fire, over.
And yet again the rounds are falling completely off target. Let's see why. So both the spotter and the mortar unit believe that they're firing at the target in the blue circle. Now if the spotter wasn't adjusting fire from an original mission, he'd likely just say that he has a target in the area of the red box. Then the mortar would start to fire and he'd direct the fire onto the target. The thing is that he's adjusting fire from the original target where they believe the rounds are falling, so he won't be spotting the rounds again, he's just giving an adjustment on the current mission really. So with the original mission being off target, the second one will be too. So this next segment comes from a comment that Josie Wales made in the last video. Basically how certain units pop up in the indirect artillery window when they're not really. Or at least they don't behave how indirect artillery should. So we can see that our infantry guns won't fire because they don't have a direct line of fire to the target. Whereas our off-map version of the exact same weapon can. And so we can set it up as an artillery mission just like any other. And as we can see, it fires as such too. So pretty much it's a kind of useless thing. I can't think of much use for it really. They will only fire direct, they won't fire in an arc or anything like that. Like a I actually think this gun crew probably does need a spotter with the way that they're firing at the moment, but yeah, so basically don't try and use them for indirect fire. Thanks for the comment, Josie. So now we'll do 3 missions. They'll all be the same, minus the amount of guns that are used, and they'll have a different rate of fire. So for this one we'll use 4 guns, and the round should drop in this circle. And we'll set it at harass, so it should be, remember, between 1, maybe 3 rounds per minute per gun. Let's see what happens. So we can see the first round just about to hit, and at this rate there should be around 13 minutes worth of firing time. So we can see the rounds, they tend to fall around the same time, and there's quite a few seconds between each strike. So let's try the same kind of mission, only this time we'll use 1 gun or mortar tube, and we'll set it at medium rather than harass. This should have 1 round landing every few seconds at this rate.
Hello, fire mission, over.
So at the current rate there's around 9 minutes worth of fire left, but we can already see the difference in how the fire mission is. Let's continue. So let's try and go in between those 2 missions. Let's pick 2 guns and a light mission and see how that works. So after that we've still got around 7 minutes worth of fire. So we've seen what it's like when 1 round every few seconds goes down on the target continuously, and then we've seen how it was where around 4 rounds, then a pause of a few seconds, and then 4 rounds again. So it can show that just because you have multiple guns doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use them all the time. So now we're going to pretend to be attacking this town. We'll take a look at different kinds of artillery strategies we could use.
Quiet down. Let's get some
Just to note, we have 1 TRP right behind the town. So first we'll pick an artillery piece to fire directly into the town itself. so we'll set an area mission. We'll select 2 guns to fire and a harass mission, so we don't expend ammo too quickly.
Hello, fire mission, over!
Hello, fire mission, out.
Now we'll also pick a mortar to fire in as well. What we want here is a linear target on the buildings at the front of the town. So for this we're going to pretend that there's a bunch of our forces attacking a town and the enemy is going to be firing back. But first we're going to use a tactic which could help take out any strong points of the enemy on our attack. What we're going to do is get a light mortar and we're just going to target the town and put it on a harass mission. We'll see why in a minute.
Hello, fire mission, over!
Roger, fire mission request, out.
So the attack starts, but not long in, the men come under heavy fire from the forest in the background. While returning fire, they notice that there's one particular strong point which they're struggling to take out behind the sandbag emplacement. So what the officer is going to do is going to adjust fire from the mortar that he's using on the town onto the enemy strong point. One reason he was using the fire on the town in the first place was because he knew where the rounds would be dropping. So it'd be easy for him to adjust fire onto any enemy strong point during the attack. So all he really has to do is adjust the direction and distance, and he can get some fire down on that particular target.
Adjust fire, over!
So the fire is now shifted onto the enemy position. So without having to spot any more rounds, very quickly the enemy position is taken care of. On the left flank, an enemy strong point is holding up the advance. Once again we can use the mortar to take it out. While the radio message goes through, it will continue firing on the previous position.
Adjust fire, over!
With the fire being adjusted so quickly, the advance can continue. The infantry reach the town, and they notice that there's another enemy strong point right in front of them. So yet again they adjust fire.
Adjust fire, over!
And with not having to spot rounds, they decide to get out of the line of fire instead. It's at this time the enemy mortar team is spotted behind a row of houses. Using the mortar that we've been using so far probably isn't the best idea, as the one that we've been using so far is only firing on harass, which isn't a lot of rounds per minute. So we'll call in a medium mortar and we'll see how we can get to it using our TRP. The enemy is just outside the TRP's range. We could use an area mission, but it's so wide that the rounds could go anywhere. It wouldn't be the most efficient way to take the mortar out. So what we can do is try a linear mission at the very edge of the TRP. So if we click the edge of the TRP and drag the line to somewhere where the officer can see, he can call that in. And bearing in mind, he wouldn't have to spot or anything like that because he's using the TRP. So long as he can see where he wants to end the line, he can use the TRP for that purpose. So with the town taken, we'll try another tactic out. We'll select these 4 mortar units. We'll pretend that there's a lot of infantry and we're attacking across that field and there's enemy positions in the field.
Hello, fire mission, over!
So the mortars have started firing now, and what we're going to do is a sort of a rolling barrage. So we'll imagine after taking one position, we'll advance the fire forward.
Adjust fire, over!
So all we've done now is adjust the fire forward. So now we've taken that position, we'll target the last enemy position, which will be within this circle. So I hope this video was useful. In the next one we'll be looking at different kinds of tactics, from infantry to tanks, so forth. Thanks again for watching.